Alright guys, welcome back to the video. In this video I'm going to be teaching you what I believe are the 10 most important steps when you're learning to trade Forex. Alright, so number one is commit to it. So people dabble these days, people have got so much information at their fingertips and they've got instant gratification everywhere, and they're in this dabbling mentality. They develop this dabbling mentality. If you're going to learn trading, it's going to be a new career for you. It's going to be a new skill that you need to develop, so you're going to have to commit to it. Now the first thing you need to do is start getting used to consistency, because if you're going to become a consistently profitable trader, everything has to be based off of consistency. So the first thing you want to do is think about when you can consistently dedicate to learning. What time of day is that? Is it 10 at night? Is it 6 in the morning? Is it at lunchtime? And once you've got that consistent time, block that in your calendar. Put it in your calendar and treat it like it's any other meeting, doctor's appointment, whatever it might be, so that you actually stick to it. The next thing is get real. Get realistic expectations. Understand what you're aiming for. Don't just have, trading as this fluffy thing. You need to have a milestone. You need to know where you're going. Just so you know, if you're running a full-time job and you're thinking about learning to trade and you're holding down a full-time job or you're running a business, it's probably going to take you around 12 to 18 months to actually learn and be able to implement. That is what you're looking at. But really just get your numbers, know your numbers. Do you know how much you need to replace your income? Do you know your living expenses? Can you actually put a plan in place to say, right, I know my living expenses, I know how much I need to start bringing in to replace that over a period of time. Maybe you can reduce your hours at a certain date. Maybe if you're bringing in £1,000 a month, maybe if you're bringing in £500 a month, that will allow you to no longer work a Saturday, which then you can dedicate to trading and learning more, and so on. So the purpose is get real. If you've got a job, it's going to take you 12 to 18 months, period. I've never seen anyone do it in less time than that. The next thing is don't skip the basics. The amount of traders that I've worked with that have gone on, rushed through it, and they get to ready to open a live account and they don't actually understand order placement. They don't understand position sizing. They don't even know what a broker is or how they work. They don't understand pip values. They don't really understand too much about how they're actually going to trade live, which holds them back, because by that time they're far too embarrassed to go, well, how do I do this?
I don't get it.
And I'm like, well, you've just been through the advanced, right? You shouldn't be asking these questions. So they're too embarrassed to ask, and then they just give up. And it's a complete tragedy because they waste all of that time and they don't get to where they want to be just because they skip the basics. You want to understand what the pip values are, how to read candles, how to understand how to identify a trend, reversal zones, how to learn how to identify support and resistance, how the market moves, how orders are placed. If you skip all that stuff, you're going to have a real hard time later on, so make sure you don't skip the basics. The next one's an important one, and that's understand risk. Understand how to manage risk and understand the risk involved. I had someone the other day tell me that he'd just placed a trade and his stop loss was like 290 pips away, and I said, well, how have you calculated your position size? Is that based off of a percentage of your account risk? And he said it's 50% of my account.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
Now just know, if you lose 50% of your account, you've then got to make up 100% of your account to get back to break even. You've got to double your account just to get back to where you started. Now, the quickest I've ever doubled an account without withdrawals is just under 2 years. So that's how long it's going to take to double an account. There's going to be people on here saying, yeah, so-and-so with the Lambo, he doubles his account every month. That is absolute crap, right? The quickest I've seen anyone, and believe me, I've worked with some phenomenal traders, is just under 2 years for me. And I know there's people that have done better than that, but you are at a massive time disadvantage if you start risking 50% of your account. So understand risk, appreciate it, respect it, and understand exactly how it's going to apply to your trading. The next thing is pick a time frame that suits you. And a lot of people say, well, what do you mean that suits me? Well, what I do is I teach people to build their trading around their life, because a big problem is people think that they've got another job, or they're running a business, or they've got kids or whatever, and they try and force trading into their life, and then they're sort of trying to check the charts, and they're on a phone to a client, they've got a meeting booked and they're rushing, and they've got to go do the school run, and they're trying to check the charts. There's no consistency. Remember what I said in point 1, consistency is everything. If you start dedicating a consistent time of day to learning, then you can start picking a time frame that suits your life as well. Remember, we're developing a skill here. It doesn't matter what time frame it is later on, you need to develop the skill first. Think about playing a guitar. You might just pick up a guitar and you might just spend a month learning the G chord, and you're playing the G chord, G chord, G chord. And then the next month you go, right, I want to learn a C chord. So you learn a C, and the muscle memory's developed, and you're playing it nice and slow. And then you go, right, for the next month I'm going to learn a D chord. So you play the D chord for another month. And by the end of the 3 months you go, right, I'm going to learn a nice slow song that uses those 3 chords. And you play the song, and it's nice and slow, and you perfect the chords because it's all nice and slow. As you keep practicing, then you can learn a fast song using the same chords. It makes no difference because the skill's there, the muscle memory's there. You're not going to slip up, you're just playing it a bit faster, that's all. But it was because you developed the skill that you can do that. You can't, if you try and play a fast song without learning the chords and the muscle memory, you are going to sound awful. And it's the same in trading.
See, I can't do this, twat.
Develop the skill. Make it easy on yourself. Make it hard to fail. So what you're going for is consistency and having the discipline to be consistent. Don't try and rush around in time frames that don't suit you. Pick one that does suit you. If you can only check the charts twice a day, I would say you should be trading on the daily time frame, maybe the 4 hour. If you can check it 4 times a day, 4 hour. If you can check it more than that, maybe the hourly. Okay, but don't make it hard on yourself, because you can apply that later on. It doesn't matter. All right, so the next thing is pick a strategy. Now you're probably thinking, how come this is so far down on the list? Because most people think that the strategy is the be all and end all. They think that is the thing that makes you successful at trading. They just focus on the strategy and they don't really understand all the other components that go into it. But it's really 20% of trading. The rest is heavily based on psychology and discipline. So pick a strategy that resonates with you and something on a time frame that you can actually dedicate your time to learning as well. It might be trend continuation, trend following, counter trend. You might trade flags, breakouts, whatever resonates. Play around with a few, learn a few, and just pick one. Pick one that suits you, something that resonated with you, because the truth is there's thousands of strategies out there and they probably all work, but it's only down to you as a trader to master that strategy and make it work. It's not the strategy isn't going to pump money into your account. So play around with a few, pick one and go all in on that one strategy. Once you've learned a strategy, you might want to start developing your edge. And what I mean by that is applying some filters. The problem where people go wrong here is they learn too much. They bring on all these oscillators, all these different indicators, stochastics, MACD, Bollinger Bands, moving averages, all this stuff. And what they do by that is they become paralyzed from even taking a trade, because they say, well, my strategy says I should enter here, but I've got this filter telling me no and this filter telling me yes. Just pick a few, don't learn them all, pick a couple, maybe just add 2 filters just to knock up that higher probability of your trade playing out and give you a better statistical edge. You don't want to add everything, you just want to go slowly and steady. Add one by one, and then what you can do is you can start removing them or becoming aggressive later on when you're consistently profitable. All right, now this is probably the most important one. You've heard me bang on about it all the time, and that is test it. That's why I've put a red line under this one. Absolutely test your strategy. This is the number one reason that people fail. We've worked with literally thousands and thousands of traders, 60 countries, and this is the number one reason. People don't test it. You want to go and test your strategy. What it does, it gives you all of the information you need for your trading business plan. It teaches you what your maximum drawdown was, how your system performs, if it's got a positive expectancy or not. what the maximum drawdown was, what the average loss is in pips, what the average win is, how long the drawdown lasts, and information that will give you a psychological strength to go into the market live. Without that information, you don't have it. Also, it can tell you how to fine-tune your system. And when you're looking to fine-tune your system, that's when you can really start to build it around your personality, because it's going to depend on you and your personality as to how you perform in the markets. Typically, this comes down to three things. The strike rate, so do you like being right a lot more than you're wrong, or are you happy being 50-50? I know some traders that are happy being wrong 8 times out of 10 because they've got the big risk reward. So do you like to be wrong more than you're right, or are you happy being right more than you're wrong? Whatever, right? It's down to your personality. The other thing is opportunity. So some traders just want opportunities. So they don't mind decreasing the strike rate if it gives them more opportunities, which typically happens, but they just find that that resonates with their personality a bit more. They feel a bit more active. And the last thing is reward to risk profile. So you might be happy being wrong more than you're right. You might have loads of opportunities, but you've got a 5-to-1 risk reward on every trade, and you're just happy doing that. Typically, you find that people who are happy doing that, they do very well, but it wouldn't suit someone who isn't happy doing that. So testing gives you all of this information. You can tune it up, and at that point, you still haven't lost a penny. So the next thing is verify it. And verify it, I mean forward test it, paper trade it or demo trade it. What you get from demo trading or verifying your system is, again, at this point, you haven't lost any money, bearing in mind, but what you find is you get used to that change in frequency from doing loads of stuff where you're looking at the charts all the time, testing, and then you go live. You get used to the fact of actually not doing much, because that is a big struggle for traders. All of a sudden, you've been doing all this testing, all the tweaking, and you've been learning, and then you go live into the market on a paper trade or demo account. All of a sudden, it's taking you 10 minutes a day instead of hours and hours, right? So it gets you used to that environment. I remember when I started trading, I went live. I funded my first live account when I was really serious about trading, and all of a sudden I wasn't doing much, and I felt like I needed to be doing more. And that's when I started to surround myself with other traders and a community so that we could bounce off each other, and keep going. But it is a struggle, and you get over that from verifying, from paper trading. It also verifies your system that you've tested and tweaked is now still performing the same way going into the future, into the live markets, and that really sets you up psychologically. You're in a very, very good frame of mind to go live after that point. All right, and finally, the last thing is to structure all of the above. So one of the things that we've found is people skip and jump ahead because they don't even know that they haven't taken in what they just read, or what they just learned, or what they just watched, or what they just applied. They think, I've done it, now I move on. I've done that, I'll move on. What they haven't done is really, really embedded it so that they understand, they've ironed out all the gray areas. The best way to do this is to create a structured learning education diary or planner and plan it in. Right in that planner, I do not move on until I've understood this. Can I answer this question, this question, this question? Maybe the questions you had at the beginning, write them down. I will only move on to the next part, next one of these steps, when I understand this, and this. And if I do not move on, if I don't understand that, then I don't move on. And believe me, it is a game changer. Now, one of our clients actually produced this one. She became really stuck, and this is one of our very, very dedicated traders. I've no doubt that she's going to do extremely well. She actually found this herself, created this planner, and you can see the dedication that's gone into this thing, but it's had transformational impact in her learning curve. She went from wasting like a couple of months, 3 months, to now accelerating past many of the others that started at her level as well. So highly recommend you structure your learning. One of the things I like to do if I don't understand something is go and tell someone that doesn't even know, like your kids, your wife. talk to them. And then when they ask questions, kids are brilliant for this. When they ask questions, you have to answer and you can't lie. So you have to actually bring that information out. And if there's any gray areas, you identify that and you can write them down, that you now know it, and maybe you can move on. But I know that one of my clients who created this one, I know she's thinking about giving this template for you guys. The link will be below to get hold of that if it's available. You might have to send me an email or something, but highly recommend you do that. So those are the 10 steps. It really is commit, get real, don't skip the basics, understand risk, pick your time frame, learn a strategy, develop your edge, test it, verify it, and structure the whole thing. If you do that, you've got an 89% higher probability of succeeding in this very, very speculative industry. Trust me, if you don't do this, you're probably going to fail. So hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and share it to any other traders out there or people learning to trade. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one.